Welcome, everybody, to the DLLS Stars podcast for Thursday, March 19th. We are remote because, of course, some of us might still be contagious. Some of us just don't like each other. So it all works out in the end. And somehow we still have a dead body in the scene, although it's getting farther away, which is a good thing. So before we get into everything today, let's talk about the shirts that we had last night. It's perfect. That's right. Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, both had big nights last night. Although I believe, Sam, that we had Jason Robinson and Wyatt Johnson, not Robertson and Johnston.
Yeah, I think TNT does it better than ESPN, but I think they all do that. I mean, Pete DeBoer called him Wyatt Johnson for 3 years, so.
Yeah, he did. He really did. Alongside Sam Nessler, wearing a fine Finnish Mafia t-shirt today, Sam. I love that. Craig Ludwig and the bones behind him. That's not Rick Bowness, but he is there. And Ryan Vaughters, our producer. I'm Owen Newkirk. Sean Shapiro will be joining us a little later, probably about the third segment. So stick around for a little bit of Sean. I wanted to ask you guys, before we get into our main topic, since Sam brought up the TNT broadcast, which I thought was fine. John Forsland is fantastic. He's a great play-by-play guy. He's one of my current favorites. I didn't have any issues with either Shane Knighty or Chris Mason. I do think that Luds and I are pretty much in agreement that if it's not Razor, it's probably Ray Ferraro is our favorite color analyst in the league. I like Darren Pang an awful lot too. But there was a clip. Sam, I'm positive you've seen it. Luds, I don't know if you saw it, of a different broadcast, and it might have been the Amazon Prime Canada broadcast from Monday, where they were talking about the Dallas Stars, and they brought up, well, Mikko Rantanen is really heating up. And this was from Monday.
Yep. I think it was TSN.
And I'm scratching my head going, oh, guys, like, I understand when you think of a team, you say, Toronto, oh, Austin Matthews. Okay, great. Montreal, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, fine. But don't you just do a little investigation before you throw out there, well, the Dallas Stars, they're on this big point streak. Mikko Rantanen has been great.
Yeah, it was like their reason. It was one of their reasons. Like the main bullet point. Mikko Rantanen heating up has been a big part of it. And I think it was Chris Pronger that was on the panel, I think.
I want to say it was ESPN. And who's the guy on there that just rambles?
You're going to have to be more specific.
I can't. Listen, I'm the last guy. I had to, I sat in Razor's chair for a little bit. So I'm not throwing anybody under the bus because I stink. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I do. I remember what you were talking about. I heard the very same thing. And I could have swore it was ESPN. And you know what? It could have been Prongs. I thought it was the guy that just kind of, he's got the beard. He's been with ESPN forever.
I think Sam is right. I think Pronger was part of that. And it's too bad because all the folks on that panel I really like and respect. But you know what? It happens. And like Lud says, we're not here to denigrate anybody and trash them. But it just goes to show, when you're talking about a team that you don't cover regularly, you have to be really careful. You have to do your homework, or you have to say something really generic, because the fans very much follow their team. So that's why I think every time the Stars are on national TV, and this is the same for any national broadcast of any team in the NHL, people get upset about how the announcers, whether it's the studio or the play-by-play and color broadcast team, handles their team's storylines. Because if you're watching as a Stars fan, for example, you are locked in on everything that's happened from September through now, whereas these guys are probably doing a crash course. And I'm not trying to defend them, because step one for a play-by-play guy, which I have been occasionally in the past, get the names right? And if I ever get it wrong, I'd feel terrible. I'm not going to call him Ludwig. If it's Ludwig, we're going to make sure we get it. And we don't know, you ask. And when he says, I don't care, say it however you want, then you say, how does your mom say it? And you keep pushing until you get at least something close to, I'm not going to get yelled at for saying your name wrong.
I still don't know if it's Rope or Rupe. because I've heard it 50-50 split down the middle from all over the place, including players in the Stars room.
No, it's Rope. It's Rope with he rolls his R.
But I think Miro calls him Rupe. So like,
don't these guys do a thing at the beginning of the year where they say their name and then everybody gets it? And I know that they change it sometime, but don't you just go off of that? Whatever they say in that.
You should. It's on the media site.
The NHL has a pronunciation guide with phonetic spelling of each one that you can go on and search and find really quickly. But as Sam said, they're not always there, and sometimes they change. Or finally you find out that Travis Etienne has been saying his name incorrectly in football for 10 years, because it was just easier for non-French speakers to say HN, and we're sitting there going, we could say Travis HN. That's fine. Just tell us how it's said. But anyway,
Philip Forsberg or whatever. Forsberg.
Luds, do you think you have it in you to call John Klingberg John Klingberg?
Betty?
That's how you say it in Swedish, apparently, is Klingberg.
There's no G.
Peter Forsberg is actually Forsberg. We saw this woman do this Swedish lesson online a couple weeks ago, and I went, you're telling me we've been saying Forsberg wrong for 20 years?
Listen, I'll be honest. Most of the time, especially when I'm sitting at home, I don't even have the sound on. And especially, it sounds really weird. I love listening to Razor. I think he's the best one in the business. But I've always found, especially with Razor, we end up kind of thinking the same and saying the same things. And then I try to say something different than what Razor may have said, and I just butcher it. So I don't want anybody else to kind of get in my head and then I start to rethink what I was thinking. I'd rather just say what I think and be done with it. So yeah, I'm more of I don't pay attention to the sound so much. I kind of like to just watch. A little different last night with the guys on TNT there because Chelly's there, and so I'll text back and forth to him, as we're going along, just hoping he would say something once in a while, but he doesn't. So
yeah, he's very quiet on that desk, isn't he?
He really is. He had told me once he wasn't, when he was doing the ESPN thing, and he wasn't super crazy about it, and I never really thought he would be that kind of a guy, but ultimately I know he made a comment to me. He goes, there's no way I could turn it down. and more about that.
The check clears, right?
Yeah. Luds, the X's and O's is where I see that. I didn't used to do the mute at all. And I think you said it, and someone else just said it recently that they watch it on mute, because you start to analyze the play the way that they're saying it. And that they're not always right? They're human. We're talking about them getting names wrong and Mikko Rantanen wrong. They can misanalyze the play. And so when you have it, at least the replay, right? If it happens, I'll mute it and just watch the replay and say, what do I see that went wrong with the Stars? Instead of listening to him say, oh, well, here's Miro Heiskanen making this mistake. And in my head, it's automatic. You just go, oh, well, Miro Heiskanen made the mistake there. And that's not doing justice for our show to come on and just say the same thing they heard on the broadcast. So I actually do like doing that as well.
Yeah. And you're right, Sam. And see what I would prefer to see, and I'm a little, obviously, you can drop the soundbite anytime you want. I'm a little anal about this stuff. Is that if Miro made a mistake or went somewhere, there was probably something that happened prior to that, that Miro had to react to what one of his teammates did or somebody else did. So they can go ahead sometimes and point the finger at a guy and say, man, he should have never went there. Well, here's why he went there, is because this guy did that. It may have started, 50 or 60 feet away. And then it's just like a chain of events that happen. And I think that way, at least, because in this game, it's so fast and they're usually one little misstep by somebody else. And then you kind of want to start where you should just kind of sit in your chair and go, okay, well, he just made that mistake and I'm just going to stay here, and gives him time to recover. Because at the end of the day, we always talk about, especially for defensemen, our job as defensemen on outnumbered rushes coming at us, or 2-on-1 in your own zone or something like that. Somebody made a mistake somewhere. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to buy time for players to get back, your players to get back into the proper position to help. And everybody forgets about the goalie. So it's a 2-on-1, but it's really a 2-on-2 because he counts. And I say that all the time on a penalty kill, like with our kids. I mean, you guys want to overdo things because it's not a 4-on-5. Our goalie didn't leave. He's still there and he has a responsibility. We're just trying to keep things to where we can make him, stop the higher percentage ones from his standpoint.
Yeah, and you know what? That brings me back to what I've said to you, Owen, before. I hate that they sped up the game. I love they sped up baseball because I thought that was too slow. But hockey,
you're talking about between whistles.
Yeah, like you have no time. So Luds is talking about how you don't get, that you can't even do it. Even if Razor wanted to sit there and break down the full play from their own end, here's the mistake number one, here's what happened on the forecheck. You don't have time. I mean, by the time I look down in the press box, type out something and write a note, the puck has already dropped. Yeah. It's too fast. So I think that's a detriment to the game to have that, because you could have someone like Luds or someone like Chelios or someone that says, here's what happened all the way up the ice that led to that goal. And really, they just have to say, the pass went here. This guy made a mistake and he beat him glove side. Here we go. Puck's dropped again. It's just too fast for me sometimes.
Luds, share for a minute your experience of sitting in the color analyst chair with Razor for the time that you did for Dallas, because that's something that I know that who, for a long time has been with the Stars or with Fox Sports Southwest, Bally's, and Victory Plus, Jason Walsh, who was the one who originally hired me to do the Stars radio broadcast. He was lobbying with the league for years and finally kind of gave up because he wasn't getting anywhere for an additional 10 seconds per goal celebration before they drop the puck. Just 10 seconds, which he was basically saying in, a 3-2 league, you're asking for about a minute of extra time between restarting play just for one more extra highlight, a little bit more description. I know you hate it when I bring up soccer, but they do a great job. Now, part of it's because there are certain games where there's not enough scoring. They show every camera angle they've set up. If you're going to set up 90 different viewpoints, you're going to see them during the post-goal celebration. I think it gives time for fans to cheer. It gives time for players to celebrate and the broadcast to give you all the story. So as a color analyst on game broadcast, how rushed were you to try to come up with comments on the spot within that very tight window?
I panicked starting the night before. It wasn't with the broadcast. You bring up Walshy. What had happened when they called me and brought it up and told me the whole thing. Well, first of all, it started out where, Dave Strader was going to have to go through his things, and I was probably going to do about 20 road games. And I thought, okay. And so anyway, then we got into this studio, Razor and I did over there in Las Colinas, and we did a practice run. And Walshy had said and called me and said, hey, we're going to do the Pittsburgh Dallas game from last year or whatever it was. And I said, okay, cool. So but it was going to be in 2 weeks. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back and watch that game. I watched it every day for 2 weeks. we got about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes in, and Walshy paused everything and he got in my head and he goes, you've never done this before, right? And I said, no. And he goes, you're pretty good at this. And I'm thinking to myself, I know the plays even before they're going to happen 4 times down. I know who's going to do this. I know how to pronounce their name. So I cheated my way the same way I did at school my whole life. And so then ultimately, but what the hardest thing for me was that when you can sit up there and you can watch TV, whatever, you just know the guys' numbers. And I'm talking about opponents. I know what that is. And then all of a sudden you get down to the bottom 6 guys, and I'm like, oh, I don't have no clue who the hell that guy is. I have no idea. And you got to say it immediately on the air. So what I had to do is I had to write the lineups down the night before. And sometimes if we had a couple days in between, and they change sometimes. Anyway, I never left that notepad, never left it from the end of one game to the next game. I had the opposing team's names on there, and I drive and I look down and I go number 32, Colomieu. I go down, and it was the only way I knew how to do it. So then I got into games, and it was actually funny because the first time Razor and I did a game in Colorado, we're sitting up top there in the bird's nest, and Razor was calling the game. And it would have been my turn to kind of say something, and Razor just kept going. He went all the way to the break. And I just I sat back and I just kind of listened to him, and I'm like, well, this is cool. I'm not screwing anybody's names up. He goes into the break. He looked at me and he goes, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I just didn't know how to shut up. I said, Razor, you never shut up. And I said, I was enjoying it. I love listening to you. So, yeah, my big thing was always about getting the names right. I was always in a panic, and you got it's the who and the what and the why and the where, and all that kind of stuff. The heroes and why did it happen and how did it happen and all that other kind of stuff. So what is your wheelhouse, and then how when they always come back to break and Razor come and from downtown Dallas at the well, I say that. I said because I thought that's what Razor did all the time. Well, she got in my ear and go, Luds, you don't say that. I'm like, and I wasn't very good with that button that puts you on mute because I said a couple things and, so.
It happens. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't had cough buttons and mute buttons here just to censor us a little bit, but that's okay. Our main topic today will be on the fact that the Stars actually have a shot at the President's Trophy this year, and we're going to get into that next here on the DLLS Stars podcast. You've heard me speak about Game Time a lot, and I'm going to continue to do that. Why? Because Game Time is such a great way for you to get tickets to any live event you want to see this year, whether it's sports, comedy, concerts, that moment in culture that everyone is talking about. And it's so easy to do. Now, you've heard me say I've used Game Time, and I mean it. This isn't just some sort of ad read. This is, I use Game Time to get tickets at Fenway Park last Labor Day to see the Red Sox play the Pirates. Got to see Paul Skeens pitch. It was a lot of fun. And of course, my Red Sox. But I also used them recently, right before Christmas, to get tickets to a comedy show we're going to tomorrow at the Majestic in Dallas. And it should be a lot of fun, and it's super easy to use. Seat views, best deals possible, you name it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Wild Fork Foods is the perfect place for you to stock up your fridge/freezer because they have over 700 items available to purchase, including 500 at under $10 per pound. They have over 250 cuts of beef, poultry, seafood, pork, and even exotics like ostrich, rabbit, and alligator. I was amazed at the selection, knowledgeable, friendly butchers, and of course, their everyday low prices. You can even get side dishes like mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, spices, and my favorite, desserts. Check out that key lime pie. It is incredible. Plus, they blast freeze everything at Wild Fork Foods Meat and Seafood Market, which maintains freshness. It's super easy to then prepare them, and they have great, knowledgeable staff. 9 area DFW locations, including the one closest to me, which is technically in Prosper. There's also one in Frisco and Plano and many others. Check them out right now online at wildforkfoods.com and go to the stores. You will not be disappointed. All right. There is now a Sam. There he is. Let's get into...
From downtown Dallas.
I love it. Let's get into the main topic of today's conversation. We can go whichever way we want to, but I saw a great note from the NHL PR department after last night's win over the Avalanche as the Stars win 2-1. 5-4 was the first 2 games, but they won in a shootout. And did you guys know that Dallas has closed a 13-point gap between the Avs and themselves to a 2-point gap? And if they were to go on and win the President's Trophy, they would be the 6th team in the NHL's modern era to finish the season as the top seed in the NHL after covering a gap of at least 13 or more points, along with the 84-85 Flyers, the 2014-15 New York Rangers, 13-14 Boston Bruins, 69-70 Chicago Blackhawks, and the 2021 Colorado Avalanche. So that got me thinking, well, let's take a look at those standings. So January 19th, take a look at where the Dallas Stars were on that day in the Central Division standings. They were, it was there briefly. If you don't blink. There we go. They were at 63 points in 49 games, and they were 13 points behind Colorado and 2 points behind the Minnesota Wild. For bigger context, Ryan, if you can throw up the league standings on January 19th. So Colorado was, of course, way out in front. As at this point, I think we were all saying there's no way they're not going to win the league, right? They're going to be the President's Trophy winners. Dallas was all the way down in 6th position behind the Detroit Red Wings. And boy, haven't they tailed off a bit. We'll talk about that later. And of course, Carolina, Minnesota, and Tampa all above Dallas. Well, fast forward now to today's standings. There are a bunch of games tonight, but as of right now, Dallas is at 96 points, 2 points behind Colorado. The Avalanche do have a game in hand. They're also 6 points ahead of Minnesota. So the Wild have kept pace generally, but Dallas has leapfrogged them, closed a huge gap with the Avalanche thanks to that 15-game point streak. And here's the league standings. Dallas is in second again, which they were earlier this year before that slump after Christmas. And they've gotten past everybody. Detroit's not even in the top 10. Buffalo has joined the conversation. And I'm still surprised the Pittsburgh Penguins are hanging around, even with the Crosby injury during the Olympics. So that's the table set for you guys. Unbelievably, and we talked a little bit about this on the show last night, the President's Trophy, Sam, is actually in play. Back in 2 months ago, to the day, I think all of us would have said, nope, no chance. Colorado's running away with this.
Yeah, I think it's 115 days now that Colorado's been in first since November 1st. And it was laughable. I mean, it wasn't even like last year with Winnipeg where it was kind of like, we expect them to hit a major road bump. It doesn't really feel that real. They ended up winning the division, obviously, but it just kind of felt like it was coming. With this team, it didn't feel like it. And then they had their little slump, if you want to call it that. They went, 2-2 or 2-3. And you're like, all right, there it was. That was it. That's Dallas. And then Dallas was losing games at the same time, right? That was during their rough streak right before they got hot, before the Olympic break. It's just crazy to see. And it's crazy to see that, I said this last night, Stars have caught them essentially without their best player, their top center, and their fourth line center. And don't forget about Tyler Seguin. So it's just crazy what they've been able to do. The only thing I think is that Colorado has the tiebreaker. So they're technically 3 points right back of them. They have to pass them unless they somehow crazily make up that 5 or 6 regulation wins. And
based on the regulation wins being a 6-point gap, 39 for Colorado, 33 for Dallas, I don't know if Dallas is going to cover that, right? I think you're right. I think they have to beat the Avalanche outright in points. They can't finish tied.
Agreed.
Luds, it seemed inconceivable that they were even going to be in the conversation. And I feel like for most of the season, we were saying, well, Colorado's, let's forget about them. They're not even in the same league right now in a complimentary way. But now it's there. You talked so much about them focusing on their game, the Stars, and trying to hone and fine-tune their play to get to the playoffs. Is the President's Trophy a carrot at all, or is it just a happy byproduct of them getting themselves where they need to be?
We never really cared, to be totally honest with you. I think we just wanted our game to be consistent and in order. When at the start of the season, the first 20 games, you're still getting in shape. Back in the day, we're still getting in shape, and nothing ever shakes out in the first 20, 25 games anyways. They say you can't make the playoffs in the first 20 or 30, but you can sure put yourself behind the 8 ball. Yeah, that's true. But in the past, we've seen how some teams can catch up, and then there's the mushy middle when you're getting that 40 through 60. You just want to get through it, and really you're looking at the last 20 because there's light at the end of the tunnel as far as the playoffs go. The bonus is to have home ice. I mean, you get home ice, and if there's a game 7, where would you rather be, on the road or at home? For sure, you'd rather be at home. So that's the big thing. That's the only thing. I just think that, with both these teams, I mean, yeah, they have their little skids in there, but what they've done is number one, and I think McKinnon even hid in his comments the other day, he didn't say it the way that we said it, but he said basically there's games that we won that we didn't deserve to win.
Yes.
We said the same thing about Dallas in the first 20 games. They were living off of goaltending and a power play, and they were, and every night we're going, you can't win like this. And now, anyway, the point of that is their coaches recognize that. So they did what they needed to do, and what they started out doing is put them into a situation where you're around a well-rounded team. And now I think where they are, obviously, and I'm looking, you guys have it right in front of you. What's their road record this year?
They're just top 3 in the league.
7 and or whatever.
They're 21, 7 and 6.
Yeah. So they're,
how about that? And by the way, the Avs are 21-7-5.
All it does is it gives you
point.
confidence that we can win wherever we want, where we are. So they're now all of a sudden saying that you have home ice all the way up throughout the playoffs. Yeah, great. But we've proven to ourselves that we've found ways to win while we're on the road. So I don't think anybody, I don't know. I've never been around a player or a team or GM that says our goal is to win the President's Trophy this year. Never heard that. And maybe that's what it is, but I've never heard it. It's just more about, when we get to game 83, everything goes away. Everything that you did from 1 to 82, with the exception of getting your game in place and confidence and, chemistry and stuff like that, it starts all over again. And you just hope that, we rolled through the season. We didn't have a slump. Well, let's not have a slump in game 2 of round 1. And it starts there.
Okay. So Luds said the one benefit in his mind, or at least the one that stood out to him immediately, was home ice for game 7 for every playoff round. If you win the President's Trophy as the top seed, you would automatically be the higher seed in any round. Is there any building other than Colorado that you would be more fearful of a game 7? Because frankly, I know the Stars went into Colorado a couple years ago and won a game 6 elimination. It wasn't a game 7, but I feel like that's the one building that really gives other teams fits because of the altitude, the atmosphere, the way they play at home. Is there any other team, Sam, that you can think of in the Western Conference where you'd say, obviously, generally, you'd rather have a home game in game 7, but is there any other you go, really got to try to avoid that one?
Yeah, the two that come to my mind, and this might just be recency bias because I was there, is Edmonton. Edmonton was nuts for game 3 and 4. That was loud. The energy was there all game, and the Stars obviously didn't work out for the Stars. Probably not because they were on the road, just the way they were playing. It wasn't going to work out either way. But they got pushed around those whole games. There's Sean.
Hey, look who's there.
They got pushed around those whole games. So that's a tough one. And then Vegas would be the other one for me. That's another really good atmosphere. But I think Colorado is well above those two in that aspect.
Well, I'm going to throw this right to Sean then. Sean, when talking about the possibility of Dallas actually winning this year's President's Trophy and game 7 being somewhere other than American Airlines Center, Luds was talking about that. And I said, well, clearly, if you can avoid playing the Avalanche in a game 7 in Denver at Ball Arena, that would be ideal. Are there any other barns in the Western Conference that you feel, or frankly, the Eastern Conference, although like we always talk about, Stanley Cup final doesn't really matter. You're going to play whatever. But is there anyone where you say that's one where, you can win? The Stars have one of the best road records in the league. Let's avoid that place.
Yeah. I mean, Colorado brings the elevation thing into that's a little bit different than anywhere else is Colorado. And obviously Luds has actually played that more. Luds can speak to experience more than any of the other rest 3 can. The one place for me that is, and I don't think I'll be clear, I don't think it impacts the players as much, but for me, venue-wise, the atmosphere in Vegas is one that is actually a little bit odd and interesting. The building, if anyone's ever been to a game there, they pump the bass a little bit more on the audio. Like it actually hurts my head. Like I've been to all 30. I've been to I haven't been to Utah yet, but with the exception of Utah, I've been to a game in 31 of the 32 NHL buildings now. And the Vegas
Sam has only shut down the airport power in 1 so far.
Yes. And so Vegas is Vegas is a building where atmosphere wise, and it's obviously it's a little bit intentional, I think, to create the club feel of it and everything like that. But that one for me, I think at the end of the day, Colorado's really the only one that you're going to potentially get a game 7 on the road against. So that's in the West. In the West,
that's right. Yeah,
and even the East. So I think that's a fine thing. And I think the other thing, and I want to give some credit to let's flip this real quick, because I was talking to a couple players earlier this week about from Calgary actually, and obviously Calgary's not going to be a playoff team or anything like that. But I was talking to some players on Calgary this week, and we were talking about buildings and settings and where guys play. And Dallas actually gets a bit of love from some players just because of some outside players because of the constant noise that comes into it. That was one of the things that was brought up by some players from outside the Stars organization, where one of the things about the American Airlines Center where the Stars play about the crowd there is there's less lull. One player used there's less lulls there. There's a little bit more of the constant noise throughout, and so I don't know whether that, and that's maybe that's something scientific Sam can dive into. Maybe he can figure out all of that. But that's So that's to answer your question and then change the subject all at the same time, Owen. That's what I'm here for.
Well, I'm going to change the subject. Sean, have you been to Tempe, Glendale, or Phoenix?
Yes, I have been to. I've been to games there. So I've not been. Technically, I've been to a home game for all 32 arenas. I've not been. I just haven't been to. I guess technically that franchise disappeared.
New franchise.
New franchise.
Right.
So still have to get the mammoth onto the board, but.
I heard I got firsthand reporting that the arena in Glendale, the Coyotes' last full NHL sized barn, for playoff time was incredible. They did a whiteout. My dad went to one game. Dave Strader, of course, who we worked with Dallas, was the announcer with Phoenix for a while when they were Phoenix, not Arizona. And I know it was few and far between over the last decade, but when they were in the playoffs, that place showed out as well. I think you mentioned Calgary. Remember the Stars lost in Game 7 in Jake Oettinger's rookie year, and he was tremendous. And I just sit there and go, yeah, Colorado is the outlier because of the altitude, and that makes a big difference. But otherwise, it's just harder to play a Game 7 on the road because if the margins are that thin, you need that little bit. And Dallas under Pete DeBoer and hopefully under Glenn Gulletson continues to have success at home in Game 7s. All right. We have a lot more to get to with Sean, with Luds, with Sam, and a lot more to talk about in the next 14 games plus right here on the DLS Stars podcast.
Well, since Mikko's really rolling and heating it up right now, why don't we start with the finisher shirt? Ryan, we should look at the finisher one because apparently he's been off to a great start.
He's heating up right now.
Yeah, he's heating up. And that's good. He's heating up because he should be back in the lineup within a couple of weeks, we hope. And we got to go back to the two guys last night. Let's pull the new shirts up again. The the robotic Robo and the sharpshooter. Wyatt, is it Johnson or Johnston now?
Johnson.
Oh, okay. We're saying it properly.
No T, huh?
I believe it's pronounced John T. Son. Actually, is how it's pronounced.
The T is silent.
I'll bet you Sean would know exactly where it was. Were you listening earlier when Sam we were talking about the pronunciation about
and the Rantanen is heating up right now?
I did not hear what you guys were. I was dealing with some other unfortunate things before we had the reason for the delay coming on today. But I did see that wonderful clip. I've seen that clip of the national rights holder in Canada speaking about how
it was Sportsnet. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was on I think it was the Monday Prime Amazon.
And it was Prong.
It was Pronger.
It was Pronger.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's heating up.
By the way, he's got a kid at SMU. We got to get him on the show somehow.
Yes.
That would be a lot of fun.
You should do that while we're ripping on his.
I absolutely want to do that.
You guys sent me that message that day. I went to Twitter because I was trying to figure out how to direct whatever you call it. I don't know how to do it. Do you have to be friends before you can send a direct message?
To certain people, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's
probably for him.
I was going to send, hey, Prongs, how about hopping on our show? And I didn't want to hit the send button because I wasn't sure if it was going out to the world or if it was going to.
Honestly, it would be great if you asked him that in public and just tweeted that, hey, Prongs, would join our show.
No,
it would be people would love that.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think Luds was accidentally setting his Facebook status to ask Pronger to come on the show. Hey,
no, I was worried. Hey, you know what I was really worried about, Sam? I was really worried that I said the friend thing to him or whatever you call it. He's kind of like, wait a second.
Will you be my friend, Chris?
Yeah, that one of them kind of things. Yeah, I didn't want to do that either.
Well, anyway, join the supporters club as well because it's awesome. For the real ones, exclusive emojis, exclusive badgies, behind the scenes videos, all kinds of fun stuff. We will need you to do it so your name can pop out in the chat when we get to the playoffs and the chats start rolling in. So join supporters club right now.
All right, Sean, I'm thrilled you're here.
Still like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I think we. Sean, I'm glad you're here because Sam caught some great video the other day, and then you and Robert wrote a wonderful piece, which I read, and it's just this timing is perfect because we were trying to use it. We even thought about playing that video last night, the pregame show, and then Hyry wasn't going to play. So, Sam, let's start by showing the video you shot of Arttu Hyry after a morning skate, and I want you to sort of let everybody know what we're seeing, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So this. And so he's a right-handed shot. So he's taking face-offs with his right hand. He's using his left butt end of his stick, which I initially thought was because, like lacrosse goalies, we would always do that to, like batters using a smaller bat or a lacrosse goalie using a smaller stick to make the save so that your big, stick or blade feels bigger. And then notice that looking back that he actually turns his blade over as well and takes some face-offs lefty. So it's kind of a mix of both. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing about it, besides the drills he was doing, they spent 10, 15 minutes doing that. And not only that, Neil Graham was dropping a puck and they were looking, okay, when it hits this corner of the dot, this is how it bounces. So they were diving so deep into face-offs for a long time after that morning skate. I think that was the last home game before they went on the road.
You think it was the Monday Utah?
Yes.
Or was it the Detroit Saturday?
I think it was Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, that video is from Monday morning. For Sam to know where you were. It's the irony of that is for Arttu, and as he spoke to Robert about, he had gone 2 for 9 on draws on Saturday against Detroit.
Yes, he got beat by Comfer.
Yeah, he got eaten alive by JT Comfer. So that was kind of a self discipline, overly learning session, I think, for him for a guy who really prides himself on that spot. And he's someone who the face-off element for him, he's not going to, and obviously wasn't, if face-offs were the only reason you stayed in the league, he would still be in the lineup. He would have played the other night. He wouldn't have been scratched the other night. But he's a guy who I think is a really good example of how a certain skill set can help give you that platform to find something in the league. He's someone who he's winning 63% of his draws in the AHL right now. Courtesy of Instat right there, because the AHL does not make stats available, as Owen knows very well.
They do not.
And he's someone who, it was funny because the reason Robert and I kind of teamed up and wrote something about this was I was at the morning skate in Detroit on Monday, and I was talking to Detroit's got a young center right now, Emmett Finney, who is having, with Dylan Larkin and Andrew Kopp out. Finney's been kind of put back into center after he'd been playing on the wing for most of his rookie year, and he's just been getting kind of torched on face-offs. And I was talking to some players about that learning curve for young players when it comes to face-offs and everything like that. And Marco Kasper, who's another center for Detroit, kind of out of nowhere brought up, he said, you know what, we played Dallas the other day. Hyry was really strong on the flip stick draw. I don't know if we have, obviously that video we just showed is showing using the butt end for it, but using the reverse end of the stick is something that's become kind of more of a common tool in the NHL for guys, for lefty. So if you're a lefty, flipping your stick over on the right-handed draws and everything like that to kind of give players leverage, so you're never taking a draw on the weak side. And
Sean, in your article, you laid out, which anybody that plays center knows, it's not because of the location on the ice, it's the location of the linesman dropping the puck.
Correct. Yeah. And it's because
can you go into that a little bit? Because I thought that was a fascinating part of your piece.
Yeah, and that's I got to give credit to the person who was my kind of eye-opening spot to that, because I never really, I was a goalie, so I didn't take face-offs. But for me, I've always looked at it from that personally perspective, going back to, this would have been 2018 or 19. It was either 20, whatever, one of the years that Martin Hansel was on the Stars and was hurt.
Well, that would have been the Hitch year, so that would have been 17, 18.
17, 18, yeah. And one of the years that
Sean, a quick parenthetical side note. What useful knowledge do you think is not still in my brain because I can recall that at an instant's notice?
Well, for me, I don't know what it is for you, but like the fact that I can remember random game streaks for things like that is probably the reason I completely when I went to go buy cereal and when I needed cereal and milk and I stopped by the store yesterday and I only bought the milk. And then this morning my daughter said, "Hey, where's the cereal?" And I said, "Well, here's some milk," after we didn't have.
You know what it is? For Sean, it's the time of our show every day. That's what
or where the link is. And for me, it's probably all the astronomy I studied in college that is completely gone because I remember when Martin Hansel played for the Dallas Stars.
Yes.
I love it.
But yeah, I remember I watched a road game with Martin and watched the video with him, and we're watching the game live on video, and that was one where obviously he was such a throughout his career, the faceoffs were one of the things that he was so proficient at, and he kind of broke it down for me, and that was kind of my eye opening. Like, oh yeah, this is the spot from a center spot. It's the lack of dirty air, for lack of a better word, when on your strong side because there's no linesman there, and then the kind of whole like flip stick thing that we've seen that Hyry does, and there's a good example right there.
This was Monday night after Sam pointed out that practice video.
Exactly. And so the whole kind of flip stick thing, this is something where it's been more popularized in the NHL because of Vincent Trocheck's success on faceoffs. Trocheck has been, but Trocheck's not the one who kind of invented it. Nick Bonino, I've spoken to Trocheck about it. Nick Bonino was actually the guy who kind of first not introduced it to the league because I don't know where to go dig that up. It's to find the first time, but Nick Bonino kind of taught the technique to Trocheck, and then Trocheck's success in NHL faceoff circles, and it's part of the reason he was on the Olympic team and everything like that has kind of led to kind of a further usage of the skill and kind of the element within the game. And it's it's a fun tweak to look at because there's some guys, it's one of those skills that it's not necessarily and this didn't get into the story because this is because I needed to save it for some sort of conversation like this is what I'll tell myself. The reason some of the guys aren't so great at it isn't the actual face-off part of it. It's not the awkwardness of the backwards blade or the stick. It's the flipping of the hands right afterwards. That is so smooth. Like if you go and watch guys who do well, Hyry, Trocheck, you watch kind of the after you take the draw
to get back to their strong-handed holding of the stick. Gotcha.
Some guys take, and Sam, I know I've talked to, this is something that's probably a lacrosse skill. I'd have to go through and look. Obviously, I know lacrosse is not big in Finland, but you think about the way guys can switch hands in lacrosse, and there's some guys I know in lacrosse who can do it better than others. It's definitely there's elements of that within this. So
Luds, I wanted to follow up this with Luds real quick.
What was the question we started with here?
Right. I'm getting to that. So
we'll bring you back.
All I need you to do is just listen to this. You didn't have to listen to anything else. So when you see
one of them political filibuster guys.
That's right. To fill hours at the podium.
Just read phone books. Tom,
will you please come on our next watch along with us? I'll fly you in.
In all seriousness, Arttu Hyry was healthy scratch last night, and I think that's more of a testament because of the other guys that as Gully does this sort of fourth line rotation with Bastian, Ernie, Blackwell, and Hyry. Every time somebody comes in, they seem to play well, and that means that it makes the coaching staff, it's harder for them to want to stick with a certain lineup. Is there, because of Tyler Seguin's absence, he's a huge part of that right-handed faceoff, the veteran, that other, guy next to Matt Duchene that could help that righty-lefty. Do you think that Hyry's faceoff strength, even though he is a bottom pair, fourth line guy on this team, gives him a chance to earn maybe a playoff lineup spot where otherwise he wouldn't have a chance?
Well, I think it might be opponent situational. So if they've got somebody that's strong on their left side or right side, whatever it may be, I think it'd just be situational. I don't think it's going to be where we're going to put him in the lineup every night because he's a good faceoff guy and we only play him 8 minutes a night. So I don't think that's what's going to be. I think it's just like everything else. I think there's always been a method for Gully bringing guys in and out of the lineup. And, he says he doesn't want to let them sit too long, but it's like dangling a carrot. I mean, a guy comes in and he knows that last time I sat out for 2-3 games, I had a pretty good game. When I came back, I was in the lineup for 4 or 5. So I think there's a way to keep guys motivated. We know it's hard to do that to your top guys. They're going to be in the lineup regardless. I think there's the odd occasion where somebody really goes off the ledge, but very rarely does that happen. So I just think it's a little bit more about the theme that he's been with all year long, and we want to keep everybody there. We don't want them to rot on the vine. Labushkin, So.
You know what?
I think
one thing I was going to say.
To your,
go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, go ahead. My one point with the Hyry thing is, I think the Stars are actually. It's funny we talk about opportunity and I think the Stars are too good of a face-off team for it to matter well enough, right?
That's a good point.
I think the Stars are pretty good down the middle, and when it comes to draws, and so I think if
and to that point, Sean, it is because he's such a good penalty killer that Colin Blackwell is on the first PK group, because he consistently does not win faceoffs, especially on his weak side. And I saw him lose one last night against the Avalanche and went, man, they must absolutely love him as a penalty kill forward because he's still out there on those circumstances. And look, he's a great penalty killer, but he's not always winning that faceoff.
And if Radek Fox comes back, they're not taking Radek out for him to be in the lineup.
Radek coming back is huge, because I actually love Oscar Beck on the wall more than at center. I think he's great on the wall. So for Hyry allows him to go to the left side. But as you said, Fox is coming back. That kind of takes away that whole thing. But the one thing I was going to say, we talked, I think, we were joking about how everyone kept calling Hyry a big guy, big body or whatever. He's not big at all. He's listed, I think, at 6'3". He's not 6'3".
He's not 6'3", but he is muscular.
Once I heard that, I started paying more attention and watching the way he plays. Not only does he get all the way down there, as Sean's picture showed, of his bottom hand all the way in the blade, but man, he is a thick, strong guy. It's really hard to get leverage on him on the faceoff dot. I think that he plays a huge part.
He's built like a fire hydrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like planting a fire hydrant on the faceoff circle.
And Sean had a line in his piece that I believe it was from one of his AHL teammates, or it might have been Ritzkovian, saying that Hyry consistently was winning fitness testing with his power and strength down in Cedar Park, which I don't even know if they're going to do that next year. I know they aren't in the NHL, but all right, a lot more to get to. Jake Oettinger
testing. Nils Lundkvist testing week.
The Nils Lundkvist Memorial. He's still alive. Fitness testing. We'll do Jake Oettinger talk and maybe some other playoff races next year on the DLS Stars podcast.
If you love the NFL Draft, then this is your edge. The Die Hard NFL Draft Guide is built and based off of thousands of hours of film study, being boots on the ground, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, talking to scouts, talking to coaches, really getting a feel for where these players are best going to fit and project in the NFL. And we're talking hundreds of players in this class.
Cowboy fans, you got to have access to Fran Duffy's Die Hard Draft Guide, because he knows exactly what the Cowboys are looking for and has in-depth scouting reports on everybody that can help this team. So help yourself and be informed about the NFL Draft. Make sure you got Fran's Draft Guide.
All right, so what are you going to find in the guide? Well, you're going to find player comps. You're going to find strengths, weaknesses, physical tools, analytics, highlights, analysis from all across the space, everything you need to try and determine who are the best players for your team. You get access to the guide if you're a diehard, and you'll also get access to a couple of individual breakdowns I'm doing specifically for your team. All right, look, if you want surface level breakdowns, you can get them anywhere. But if you want independent thought, if you want thorough breakdowns on all of these prospects, become a diehard, get the guide. Or you can get access to the 2026 guide for just $26. Let's win draft season.
All right, and don't forget to sign up to be a diehard. Scan the QR code right below Sean's pretty mug there, and it will give you the opportunity to not only get all the access that we have, but also access to Fran Duffy's NFL Draft Guide and a free t-shirt of your choice. Sam is sporting the Finnish Mafia today. I was gifted the very new Cooper Flag shirt because I already bought a Finnish Mafia shirt, so GM Ben didn't want me to feel left out when he got you guys the other shirts, which was very nice of him. It's a little snug around the collar, so I might need to stretch it just a little bit. Anyway, sign up to be a diehard, get access to everything that we do, writing, of course, the free t-shirt for your first year, the diehard Discord lounge, which, by the way, our NCAA March Madness bracket has gotten going now. So if you signed up as a diehard,
I was 5 minutes late.
Oh, Sam.
I had Miami all the way in the final, and then it said you were locked out.
Oh, that's why I did it at 1:30 in the morning last night. Sean, apparently Ryan tried to get Luds to sign up to the ESPN bracket, and it didn't work very well. I know that's very surprising.
So if you want to do a bracket for fun, I guess
Florida.
You could go, if you want to do a bracket, who was the number 1 overall seed? Do we know? Does anyone know?
I'm going to guess Arizona because that's who Owen had winning it.
I don't know, because every single year I go to fill it out and my friends always invite me to it. And I'm going to give people a trick here. I have won my money back 3 out of the last 5 years. I hit autofill top seed, and I just have the top seeds go all the way, and I've won my money back 3 out of the last 5 years. Yeah.
Every year. You get like some nice upsets in the first 2 rounds, and then lately it's just one versus one.
So just if you want to win money in your pool and you want, but it's boring. I'm well admitting it's boring. Just go and autofill higher seeds. I've won money back 3 out of the last 5 years. So yeah, I think I have Duke winning it all. I don't know.
They are losing by 11 at halftime to the 16
seed. I have no emotional investment either way, though, because I didn't actually pick them. I hit the button and it did it for me.
The button did it for you. Let's talk about goaltending for a minute, because and what a great time to have Sean on to talk about Jake Oettinger. We heaped praise on him last night, but 12-0-1 in his last 13 starts, a 13-game point streak for Jake. He was tremendous last night. Scott Wedgwood was excellent as well. The two of them dueled head-to-head, and I just thought that, and that's actually one of the things, at the beginning of the show today, we were talking about the national broadcasts and things that they kind of get wrong sometimes and names they mispronounce. One of the things I liked about Chris Mason, who's part of the Nashville local TV broadcast, but was on the TNT feed last night, and then, of course, Henrik Lundqvist in the studio and the panel, was they were praising, rightly so, how calm and collected Jake Oettinger was in the net. And he didn't look at all like he was lost or flailing around. Not that we would expect that. He just looked dialed in. And Sean, that immediately made me think, well, he got a lot of shots from distance, and that's the perfect game for Jake Oettinger. He likes to stay busy.
Wait, I was told last time I had a take about this, and then we posted the clip onto social media. I was told that I was way too kind when I said that, would you trade Jake for any goal in the Western Conference? And I was told that I was way too soft on him. And now, just because Henrik Lundqvist, who's way more handsome than I, goes and says it, now it's a good take.
Receipts.
Just go put it into a better dressed, better looking delivery system, and now all of a sudden everybody's all for it. So
I mean, his hair is perfect, right? Not a single strand of hair is out of place.
Oh yeah.
I have to listen to what King Henrik says.
Wrong show for this stuff.
Luds, there's a great hockey show out there called Heated Rivalry. I'm not
just
sure
about to say the same thing.
I didn't even want to say that. I didn't even want to throw the name out there.
So in all seriousness, as I hack and cough this way through our show, I mean, we just had you on recently talking about fans being upset about Jake. Now we're celebrating. Not only was he the second star of the week for last week, but now he just dazzled. And I would assume, as Sam and I were talking about last night, that he plays on Saturday afternoon in Minnesota.
That would make sense. I mean, and on top of that, you add the Jake. Jake loves playing in Minnesota. He loves going back home and playing there and everything. So, yeah. I don't want to say vindicated or vindication or whatever for Jake, but you talk about opportunities and tests, and that's what last night was in Colorado for him. And yes, not all of you look at if we want to look at the shot selection and where it is, but that's going into a difficult environment, going into a tough space and winning it, and basically putting your team in position to win. And that's what Jake has done for much of this season. Obviously he could be better. But this is the form. If this is the form, not a month from now, because that would be April 19th. And I think the season's not going to start till postseason won't start till the 21st. But if this is the form 5 weeks from now, everyone's going to be thrilled. So I give Jake a ton of credit for that. Good statement. I think one of my bigger takeaways from the game last night was, even though Colorado had more shots, had more possession, I never really watched that game and felt like I never felt like Jake was going to lose that game. And that's just anecdotal. I want to be clear. I don't have any data that back that up. That's just the feel watching the game and then watching back this morning, where you go and you say, like, okay, this is one where you've got a goalie dialed in. He's figured it out. And those nights are good. I mean, I'm sure Luds Luds, I'm sure there was nights that you played with some great goalies who are in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I'm sure there was nights where you looked back and Eddie or Patrick were back there, and you guys could say, you know what, they're not losing tonight, and that's the way Jake played last night for me.
Yeah, and you can feel it. You feel it when you're on the bench. You feel it when you're out there, and and you make a mistake and they bail you out. You don't even go back and say anything because they're dialed in and they're set. And Patrick was like that a lot. But Patrick, I've said this one other time before. I mean, but the most impressive thing to me about Patrick was that I remember, I was only my second, third year, whatever it was, when he came in as a rookie. There was a 2-on-1 I just played brutal, unbelievable, and unbelievably bad. And they scored, and I came back to him and I said, "Cosso, dude, sorry, man. He goes, no, I have to have that. I have to make that save." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I got to make that save." So not only did he take, partial ownership of it, but he made me feel a certain way about it. I knew how committed at the time he was to be one of the greatest players to play. And he thought he was, and he thought he could make every single save. And I think a lot of goalies feel that way, but obviously having, 3-4 cups, whatever, he and a Hall of Famer, he was something special. And Eddie, not to take anything away from Eddie was just a competitor. You know what I mean? There's nothing more. I mean, I can say Eddie made great saves and all this, but Eddie hated to lose. And you can go back and look at his record. I've always said this, especially in the playoffs, games that he's played in after we didn't win the game. He'd had a way of saying, no, not happening. So,
Sean, is it correct to say, whether it's fair or not, is it right to say that this performance from Jake, this type of game, because not only was he great and made a lot of saves, he, as Owen mentioned, he was efficient, he was calm, he was in control. Is this what fans get so upset about, because he does this and then he lets up a couple soft goals in the next game? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's the roller coaster nature of the position, right? Like, I'm sure somebody was watching. I guarantee you somebody watched that game last night and then thinks back to the Saturday own goal with the cuff
of the glove.
Yeah, off the cuff of the glove. And it's I go back to one of the natures of the position where it's just the reality is Miro Heiskanen made a mistake last night. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going and pointing it out, but the point is Miro Heiskanen made a mistake at one point. He made a wrong read. It wasn't completely circled on the broadcast or anything like that. It just kind of falls into there's the ultra microscope of the position that I think comes into play on it. And it is a position that you're judged by your consistency. It is a position where I think, especially as backup goalies, and I think this is an important thing, Sam, when it comes to the era of it. When Ed Belfour was in net for the Dallas Stars, it was Eddie and no one else. When Patrick Roy was in net, they had a backup and they might have said nice things about the backup, but the line between starter and backup was so much wider across the league, right? Like, it was the whole, it was the divide of the base level of goaltending has gotten so much better now. And so the margin of error between a backup and a starting goalie is so much more thin now. And so I think that's why we start looking for more and more of the ways to pick apart starters, where, I mean, we used to be
Sean, we were talking about this Monday for Utah. Vanacek started. It wasn't Vejmelka. We all thought it was going to be because he's played so much. Mm-hmm. He's played, as of Monday, Karel Vejmelka had played over 500 minutes, which is the equivalent of about 9 games more than Jake Oettinger at this point of the season. And Vanacek was great. He actually outdueled Casey DeSmith, and that's why the Stars' point streak ended on Monday.
Did he outduel Casey DeSmith, or did Casey just decide to that he was not going to have a night at all? I don't think a duel starts if you just drop your sword.
No, I mean, the Stars had a bunch of high dangers, and I thought Vanacek he answered a lot of those, but I like your point there for sure. I think we need a dude is cooked drop at some point for sure on this. But before we get to that, it's just, do you think
is cooked right now?
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Do you think that the Stars are doing the right? We talked about this preseason, right? Mm-hmm. With you, how many games do you want Jake to play? But him being third in the league in wins and about 500 minutes below the number one time on ice guy in Vejmelka. Is that where you want it to be?
Yeah, I think they're doing a better job with it, and I'd like to see. And I think that's been a present conversation for the Stars this season of how do you get that version of Jake that doesn't hit the wall that he's hit physically and maybe even mentally in the Western Conference Final the past 3 years. So yeah, yes, definitely. I think it's in a much better spot, and I think and there's a confidence part of it too, right? Like I think it's funny. I know it was a very vogue thing for Stars fans to be all upset that Jeremy Swayman got a start over Jake Oettinger and everything like that. But Jake got an Olympic break, right? Like he was there, but like, yeah, if you think about it that way, like Jake took a vacation to Italy, just like other guys went to the Dominican
Cancun or Cabo,
right?
Yeah.
Like, and he basically got to just work. He basically got a practicing vacation. So it's funny to look at it that way, where he actually did get an Olympic break that came with a gold medal. So that's.
Hey, Luds, when you look at the way the Stars are defending now versus even earlier this year, this has to be, in my mind, helping their goaltenders, especially come playoff time. When you see the way they lock things down, I mean, sure, Colorado had a lot of possession, a lot of shots, a lot of stuff from the outside last night.
That's how they're doing it. They're on the interior. I mean, that's the whole point of playing this system versus other ones, is that you start from the middle and you work your way out from there, and you go back to the middle first. And ideally you're going to see at least 2 defensemen in front and then maybe another forward, and ultimately that frustrates an opponent, and they come back and they can't get pucks through, and all that. I mean, I think it becomes more frustrating, and ultimately what happens is they hang on to the puck a little bit longer. They try to make an extra pass because they don't see a real good shooting lane, even though what they see is probably the one that they should take. But it's more about frustration than anything else, and their plays are so much simpler. They're, with the exception of Merrill, because he can skate the puck out and he does that. Just why? I mean, Nils is a perfect example of it. Even Bishel and Myers, the law firm there. I mean, they get the puck, boom, get the puck, boom. They don't. Occasionally you see them skate it maybe across their blue line, their own defensive blue line, and going north. But that doesn't happen often, because if your forwards are in the right spots, it just makes the game so much easier for them. And so, they can focus and concentrate on being positionally strong. I want to ask about the number for the goalies, 50, 52. I don't get it. Marty, Eddie, Patrick, Grant Fuhrer, these guys all played 70 games plus a year. The travel's better. The food is better. They take care of themselves like animals now. They don't go and abuse their bodies like the rest of us did and did everything wrong. What is the main reason you want to get to that 50, 54, whatever that number is? Why do you want to be at that number?
It's the way the position's played now.
Okay, so it's the VH and the
it's part of it. Like the RVH is part of it. The amount
everybody plays on their knees. They're up and down. I guess.
It's actually the hips actually is the part that's taken the most of it. And I've had a good conversation with Stars goalie coach Jeff Reese about this before, where he said it's one of the things now is the amount of wear and tear that goes into the goalie hips on the post play. The way post play has changed is really the biggest thing. And it's not just the games, it's in practice now. And he said, I remember late in Ben Bishop's career, he was talking about, we have to talk to Ben about just being okay letting up goals around the post in practice, because we need to stop him from the amount of times that goalies are basically, the body is just slamming into the post over and over again. And they're going hard into there. And it's a part of the game that's not going away as well, because of the skill of the game and because of the skill and the shooters now. So it's the way the position is played and the wear and tear on the body from the approach. Like it's funny for me, because like I go and play beer league on Wednesday nights, and I don't do that because my body is 36 years old, and I decide that and beer leaguers aren't going to shoot right there. Now. But we go and we play against, you look down the ice and you see we play against a 22-year-old kid slamming his hips into the post and everything like that. And I'm like, he is definitely wasting energy and putting wear and tear in his body that is not worthy of these shooters. But in the NHL, you actually have to do that. So.
Sam, I want to end with one quick question for you, because I know you saw this, you retweeted it. Jake was not only the first star of the game, he was fantastic, but he was also the featured guest with the panel on TNT after the broadcast. And Jake is a intelligent, funny, engaging guy, great to talk to, great to interview, available all the time, which is not normal for goalies, and I love it. But he's almost so Minnesota nice that he doesn't necessarily give you – you need that Brad Marchand to create a little bit more TV entertainment. That's the only criticism. And if he wants to be super friendly and boring on TV, that's fine, because if he keeps doing that in net, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, he throw Henrik Lundqvist in there, and that's one of his heroes growing up. So that's someone that he's going to be, very polite about. Maybe if Biz was on there, he would give him a little crap, but he did make up for it either right before or right after that with Mike Heika saying, he was scared shitless when Nathan McKinnon was coming down on the shootout, just trying to not, figure out what was going on and not let his quick.
That's what we need on national TV.
Yeah,
to make
he's got a few of those.
We need that clip to go viral, so then he gets the more attention. Thank you. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You made the comment, and you even used the Luds word, so I very much appreciate it. All right, guys, we are off tomorrow. Hopefully we're less raspy and coughing and sneezy on Saturday. Sam, is there any chance that you'll be in studio, or is it just going to be you and Mako at home?
I don't know yet.
All right, so we'll find out. But Luds and I and Ryan should be in studio. We have an afternoon game, 2:30 pregame show, 3 o'clock, Stars and Minnesota Wild. Wild are playing tonight against the Blackhawks. And in case you're hoping that perhaps the Hawks might do us a favor, Minnesota has a 19-game point streak against Chicago, going 18-0-1, which is the longest by one team against another in the NHL. So maybe we'll be surprised, but maybe not. For Sean Shapiro, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, Mako, and Ryan Vaughters, our producer. I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you Saturday for the beginning of a weekend back-to-back here on DLLS.